Hi guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a slideshow on a user form. Before we do that, go to excelvbasequel.com. You could watch about 12 hours of video right now. There's more material being added all the time. Put your email in this box here and you could be emailed when new videos get uploaded. Again, they're all free to watch. You could also download the Working Excel Macro workbooks here and contact me here and I'll answer your questions. Okay, so in a previous video, let me just scroll down on the website. There's this video here called 3-question survey. And it's a pretty long video, but it's pretty cool because it shows you how to create a user form that loops through photos and questions. And it's cool. I would watch that if you haven't watched that. In this video, we're going to do something very similar. We are now going to deal with some pictures. Here I have 5 pictures: blue, green, purple, red, and yellow. And these are GIFs. These are a blue.gif. So by GIF I mean a GIF image type. Okay, they could be JPEGs or whatever. But I have 5 images. What I want to do is create a slideshow. So I want to show the photo and I want to show a caption. So here are my images or my photos. They could be whatever you want, and I put them in this folder called pics, in this folder called slideshow. And also in this folder I have my macro enabled Microsoft Excel workbook that I'm going to create the user form slideshow in. If you're going to do this at work or at some environment where you want lots of people to access this slideshow, make sure you put the folder here on a network drive so everyone has access to it. So let's get started. So when I said I wanted a slideshow, I wanted a picture and a caption. And here, what we're first going to need to do is create a sheet called data, or whatever you want to call it. I call it data. That's going to contain what's going to be displayed on our user form in the slideshow. So for every image, I want a caption and the path to that image. And the path, again, is just going to be where is that photo located on your computer or on your network. Where's the path? So here's the path to that image. It's in the slideshow folder on my desktop, and it's called red.gif. And I have a caption, just this is red, and then for the blue photo I have this is blue, and then the image path, and then this is green. That's the caption for that, and the image path. Next, what we want is a tab called Start, or however you want to do it. I mean, it could be on the same tab, but I want this tab separate in my case, just so that I could put a button on it here. And again, this button could go on the other tab. I just decided to put it on its own tab. I'm going to go into this button, and if you didn't see that, I right-click on the button. First of all, go to Developer tab, Insert, and insert an ActiveX control, and go to Command button. Once it's there, right-click on it, go to Properties, and in the Caption property, I'm going to say Start Slideshow. And in the back color, just to visually make it look a little better, I'll do yellow. Okay, so now we have a button, and what we want is when someone clicks this button, we want a user form to pop up, and then a button on that user form to say start the slideshow. So this is very similar again to the video on the survey, but I'll go over it again. So in order to make a form pop up, you double click on this button in design mode. So double click, and now we have to create a form. So I'm going to go Insert User Form, and I'm just going to make this a little bit bigger. And on my form, I want to change the name of it. So I'm going to go to Properties window. And here in the Properties window, the user form is active. So I'm going to change this to say Form Slide. And notice that Form Slide now is here underneath the forms. And now I want to add some objects to the form. So on my form, I want an image. So I select image right there. And then I want a label. Actually, let me name this image. So every time you drag an object onto the form, it makes it active in the properties window. So I'm going to rename this in the name frm underscore image, img. And then I'm going to put a label here. And this label, I'm going to rename this LBL caption. And then I want another label that will sort of tell me what image am I on. Am I on image 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? So this is going to be LBL counter. And finally, I want a button, a command button here that will say caption. In the caption, I want it to say start slideshow. And I'll take the back color to be green or blue. Okay, let me just straighten this out here. Okay, so now I have all the objects I want. This command button, let me just rename this btn underscore start. Here I have a label for the counter, LBL counter, and LBL caption, and FRM image. Okay, so cool. Now I have my form set up. Now I want it to show when I double click this. So all I have to do now is go form slide.show, and notice form slide is the name of the form here, so you could reference that. So when I click on this, I got to exit design mode and click on this. And here's my form. It's blank, right? Nothing shows up. So how do we make something show up on the form? Let's go back into the form. Let me also change this user form 1 up here. That's the caption. I'm going to say my slideshow. Okay, so now we have to initialize the form, meaning when the form first pops up, I want it to show meaningful data, a caption and an image. So to initialize it, double click on the form, left click, double click, and now we're in the user form underscore click event, but that's not the event I want. I want to go to user form initialize. This is the form I want, or this is the event I want. So when the user form is initialized, meaning when it pops up, I can now write some code that will populate the form. So to do that, I'm going to go to the sheet called data, and then I am going to declare or not going to declare a variable. I'm just going to have a variable set up that is going to be range a1 dot end xl down dot row. So what this is going to do is it's going to go to the data, the sheet called data right here, and then it's going to go to range A1 and go all the way down until there is no value. So it's going to go to this sheet, it's going to go to this range A1, it's going to go all the way down and stop right here, because this is where the last value in that range is, in that column is. So it stops right here, and then it gives me the row number 6. And I'm doing this because I want to know how many pictures I have. So in my case, I know that I'm going to have one less than what I'm going to have the number of pictures. Number of pictures is going to be one less than the row here, right here. When I perform that action to go down and stop right here. So I want to do r minus 1. That is going to be that is going to tell me how many pictures I have. And now I need an array to a two-dimensional array that will hold this data right here. So I have 5 pictures, and I have a caption and an image path for each one of them. I want to hold this in memory so that I can use this data on a user form. And I want the array to be used not only in this initialize subroutine, but I want it to be used elsewhere, because I'm going to write another subroutine to actually, I'll show you. I'm going to write another subroutine that starts the slideshow, and I want to be able to access this data in that subroutine. So I need to declare a global array. So to do that, you need to put it in, you need to declare a global variable. So I'll just say declare global variable. And notice that I added a module. So I inserted a module. I went insert module, and this module came up and it was active. And here I can write my global variable. So I'm going to write public info as variant. And now I have this array. Notice that it's not size, so I'm going to size it after I declare it using the redim statement. So let me go back here, and now I can write redim info r-1 comma 1, and what this does is resizes a two-dimensional array. So why is it r-1? Well, arrays are they start their index at 0. So if I were to put 5 in here, that would mean there's actually 6 elements, because it counts from 0 to 5. Well, that's 6. And why am I saying 5? Well, I have 5 pictures, right? And that r, the value of this r here, this variable r, is going to be 5. If I were to create an array that is 5 by 2, which you might think you want, you're actually going to get an array in Excel VBA that is 6 by 3, because it starts counting array elements at 0. So I want a 4 by 1 array, and that's what this is right here. This is a 4 by 1 array in my case. If I had 100 pictures here, or let's say I had let's say this went down even further to 10 and I stopped at 10, so that would mean, you know, r is equal to 9, because if I go here, I do the row minus 1. So if I was at row 10, I'm going to get 9 here, right? So what I would want here is I would have 9 pictures, and I would want an array in Excel VBA that is 8 by 1, because it's going to be 8 in Excel VBA means I'm going to have 9 elements. Start from 0 to 8 is 9 elements, and 1 in terms of the column. So this is the second dimension. It's not one column. It's actually in Excel VBA. This is the 0th column. This is the first column. So 0, 1. So here I have an array that is 4 by 1. This is a 4 by 1 array in Excel VBA, and I could iterate through. This is the 0th element, first element, second element, third element, fourth. Okay, and this is the 0th column, and then the first column. And you could think of a two-dimensional array like this as just a matrix of rows and columns. So it's exactly like this, right? Okay. So now I have a two-dimensional array, and now I need to populate the array with some data. So let me start at r equal 2, and I is equal to 0. And now I'm going to say populate the 2D array. And I'm just going to do this do until cells r comma 1 dot value is equal to blank, loop r equals r plus 1. So here's my loop that's going to loop down this column until there's no value in it, starting at r is equal to 2. And all I need to do here is right here, just to info, that's my two-dimensional array, info I is equal to cells r comma c dot value, and then the next one, this actually should be 0, and this one should be c plus 1, or let's say 2. So what is this loop doing? This loop, all it is doing is it's looping from r equals 2 comma 1, right? It goes here and it goes row 2 comma 1 dot value equals blank. So it's going to loop down here, and it's going to put this data in, row 0 column 0. It's going to loop row by row. So this is a row by row. So let me just write that. So for every row, I have 2 pieces of data I want to enter in my two-dimensional array. I have the caption and I have the image path. And that's what this will do. So this will populate the 2D array. And next thing I want to do is I want to keep track of the question numbers that I'm using on this user form. So I need a global variable called question number. So I'm going to declare a global variable called question number, which is going to be an integer. And I also want a global variable called number of questions. And why is this important? Well, I want to display that on the label of my user form. So let me go back in here, and right now I can set the number of questions after I resize the array. I know that the number of questions is going to be equal to r, right? Because if I have 5 pictures here, then I'm going to have 5 not questions. This is number of pictures. So let me go back here, number of pictures. And so that'll give me the number of pictures. And here I want picture number. I'm going to set that equal to 1. And then what I'm going to do is populate all the data. This should be picture number over here. I'm going to populate the data on my form now. Okay. So I have 3 things to populate. And that's pretty easy to do here. Let's do it. So I do form slide dot lbl caption is equal to info 0 comma 0 and then I do form slide. I'm just putting this here. LBL counter. Now here's where I'm going to display something that says this: slide and C string. This is going to be picture number and of pictures. And let's see, why did that happen? Because you need a C string around it. So C string converts a number to a string. I needed this here. So what I did here is use those global variables, picture number, which I set here initially in the initialize subroutine is equal to 1, and then I also have a global variable called number of pictures. And as I loop through the slideshow, this picture number is going to increment, whereas this number of pictures is always going to stay constant. So I'm going to have something on the user form that is like picture 1 of 2, picture 1 of 2 of 2. If I have 10 pictures, it'll go picture 1 of 10, picture 2 of 10, etc. Right? So now we have to load the picture into the frm underscore image dot picture is equal to load picture. So you use this load picture function that will you pass in a path to it, right? So this load picture is a function. You don't have to write it, that Excel VBA provides, that if you pass in a path, it will load that picture onto the user form. Okay, so let us run this now and see what we get. So if I go to Start and I go to Start Slideshow, I spelled redim wrong. And I also spelled variant wrong. So let's run this now. And I think we ran into a problem with the image down here. So let me just run that. So I have red.slideshow. I know why this is happening, because I put this in a folder and I didn't carry down the subfolder. So inside the slideshow folder there's another folder called pics. And now we should be in business here. If I click this, let me close out of the debugger. Get rid of this breakpoints. And there we go. Okay, so what do we have? We have our form. It says My Slideshow. It shows the initial image, which is the red image. It says this is red. That's my caption. And then I have this thing down here that says picture 1 of, and for some reason my variable is not coming through here. So let's find out why is number of pictures. I bet you it's spelled wrong. Yes, number of pictures. If I scroll over here, let me get rid of this. I bet you I spelt it wrong. Let's go back over here. Let's just run it again. I think I may have spelt it wrong. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we're in business now. We have our image on our user form. We have our caption. And we have this little counter thing, which just helps us keep track of things, where we're at. And now I want to start the slideshow. So, what do we need to do? Well, we need to click on this button and write some code. So let's go close out of that, go to the button, and just double click on it. And now we could write our code for the button. And to do this, what we want to do is first figure out, okay, how are we going to run this slideshow? Well, we need to have the photo show and then have it wait an interval, let's say like 2 seconds, and then another photo shows, and then we have to wait another 2 seconds and have the photo show again. So we need some sort of waiting mechanism, some sort of delay. And to do that, there's a sleep function that you can write, that you can include, and you do it like this: a public declare sub sleep. Lib stands for library, kernel 32 by val and then you do dw milliseconds as long. And what you did here, by just typing that in, what you're doing here, you're accessing a library called kernel 32 that has a subroutine called sleep in it that takes a parameter that is a milliseconds. And what it will do is it will just make your application just go to sleep for a certain number of milliseconds. And that's useful in situations like this because we want, when we click this button, we want to do something like this, like do until picture number is equal to number of pictures loop. So here's our loop to loop through all the pictures, and we want to sleep, let's say 2 seconds. And because it's milliseconds, you see here we need to pass in milliseconds. That's 2,000 milliseconds. And let's make it 1 second because we don't want to wait too much. And what's going to happen after we wait a second? Well, we want to go down here and we just want to repopulate. We just want to take all this code and actually the picture number 2 and bring it up here and just paste it in. And initially we're going to set picture number is equal to picture number plus 1, and then we're going to set our caption equal to the picture number minus 1. Now this is due to the 0 indexing of the array. You got to set picture number equal to minus 1, and also here you do picture number minus 1. So whenever you're dealing with the array, you have to take into account the 0 indexing. So you set picture number back 1. So for instance, the first time through, because we initialize picture number equal to 1, when we go to the second picture, we want it to say picture 2. So that's why we increment it up here. We increment it up here so that in our counter label we show picture 2 of 5. But then in our caption and in our load picture, we do picture number minus 1 because that'll give us info 1, 0 and 1, 1, which is the second picture in the array. So here and here we're dealing with the array, so we do picture number minus 1, and here we're dealing with something that you're going to show on the user form, so we leave it as, we don't need to subtract 1 from it. Okay, so that is it. Let us try this and see if this works, and maybe we are going to run into an error. I think we are. Actually, I know we are, but I want to show you why. So when we run this, I'm going to click Start Slideshow, and I spelled kernel wrong. So let me go back here. In this module, it's kernel. Let me run this again. Start slideshow. Maybe this needs to be named that way. KERNEL32 bival DW milliseconds as long. So I think I needed to name that the right way. Okay, so I just hit it. Now notice what's happening. Nothing is happening. But there we go. We get to the last image. So it went from 1 of 5 to 5 of 5. So let me do that again. It comes up, and this is not what I want. When I click this button, I want to see this picture, wait a second, see the next picture, wait a second, but that's not what I'm seeing. If I click it, I just see this picture, the first picture, and then 5 seconds later, I see the last picture. So what's happening? Well, in the code, if you go here in this code, it took me a little while to figure out that what you need to do is that at each time through, when you want to update the caption, the counter, and the picture, you need to do repaint. Okay, so that's a big help, because as soon as I put this repaint in here, it's going to update the form again. So let's try it now. I click Start Slideshow. I click Start Slideshow, and there we go. Now we're in business, right? We have a slideshow that is. Let me close it again, and let me show you that again. It's waiting 1 second, and then it's going to the next image and also the next caption, and also this is updating too. So it says picture 1 of 5, and picture 2 of 5, and picture 3 of 5, then picture 4 of 5, and then picture 5. So I'm not clicking anything. It's all happening because we're using that sleep procedure that is right here. This module declare sub sleep, which is in the kernel32 library. So this is a library again. It comes with Microsoft with a Microsoft Excel. You can access it. It's a subroutine, and it allows us to delay or to make the application sort of go to sleep. And in doing so, we could create a slideshow like this. Now let's try to run this slideshow and see what happens when we run it again. So when we go to run it again, after it's done, let's see what happens. So we're at the end, right? Now we don't have any message box, nothing pops up to tell us we're at the end. If I click again, what's going to happen? Well, nothing is happening, right? Because that global variable this picture number is equal to number of pictures every time after let me get out of this. When you try to run it again after it initially runs, so that global variable that keeps track of the number of the pictures, right now it's at 5, and if I click this again, it's still at 5. So there's that if statement right here, picture number equals number of pictures. Right now it's equal to 5 is equal to 5, and I could keep pressing that button as many times as possible, but nothing's going to happen. So let's handle the case where we want to play the slideshow again. So let's do something in this subroutine button click dot start, and we'll do something like this. We'll do, if I click the button and the picture number is equal to number of pictures, then I want a message box to pop up. and I'm going to set answer is equal to message box. Do you want to play again? So that's going to be that's going to be what's going to be displayed as the text, and then the type of message box you put in VB yes no, and then in the title bar you put play again, or I'm going to put play again because that's going to be like the title bar, and then you remember to put the parentheses. And now we could do something with this, whatever's in the answer. So someone's going to respond to that message box. And we're going to do if answer, which is the response of the message box, is equal to VBS. Then we're going to do something else and if. Okay, so if they want to play again, then what we're going to do is we're going to call the reinitialization of the user form. So that's real easy, right? If we're going to act like the user form is just starting up again. If they don't want to start again, then we're going to unload slide or form slide. So if they do want to play again, we just send them to the user form initialization subroutine again, and that's this subroutine. And let's run this and you'll see what's happening here. If they don't want to play again, I just close the form. So let me go back to start slideshow. I click yes, and we're going through the slideshow. Here we get to 5 of 5. I have them, let's say they click again, or actually, yeah, they go to play again. They go to start the slideshow again, and I go, do you want to play again? And I guess I don't even need here. I guess that was kind of stupid of me. Obviously, if they're clicking the start button again, then I don't need this message box actually. But I'm just going to comment it out because maybe you want to reference that. All we really need, if they click this again, we know that they want to play again, or else they would have closed the form. So they can close the form themselves. So I commented out everything about taking in an input from a message box, but here's the main thing. If they click the start button and the picture number is equal to number of pictures, then we just send them to initialize again. So let's do this now. So I click 5. I click start. And then if I want to do it again, I do start slideshow. And notice what happened. So it went to 5 of 5, the last picture. But then if I click start again, it goes straight to 2 of 5. So what is happening there? Well, let me close this. What's happening is that when we send them to this, say someone wants to play again, we send them to this user form initialize subroutine. And in that subroutine, there is nothing, nothing's happening to repaint like we did up here. There's no repaint, so we have to add that. We have to add this down here in the initialization. Because if we send them to this initialize form again, they're going to be looking at the last picture, and then look what happens. We send them to the initialize. The next picture that gets displayed is going to be the second picture because it gets repainted in the button click. But we want it to be first repainted so we can see the first picture in user form initialize. So we have to add this form slide repaint in the initialize. So now if we run it, I click slideshow, I click start, I see the last picture. Now I should see the first picture, and there it is. Okay, so now we have a slideshow that will go through 5 pictures, and then when you click start again, it goes through the same 5 pictures again, and look what the caption's updating, this counter's updating, the image is updating. And if you had 100 pictures or 1,000 pictures, it doesn't matter. It would do the same thing. It would go through 1,000 pictures, and you could run your slideshow that way. Also, how could you make this better? You could have some input on this form for the wait time, right? Because that's pretty important. That this sleep time right here. Right now it's hard coded. Let me change it to 3 seconds by doing 3,000. Remember, it's milliseconds. It takes in a parameter that's milliseconds. So if I do it again, start slideshow, it's waiting 3 seconds, and then it changed. Now it's going to wait 3 more seconds. Oops, what happened here? So I'm getting I get a not responding on the for some reason when I put in 3,000 seconds, let me try 2. And this might be my computer. Okay, so 2 seconds is, well, it looks like why is it working for 1 second? Well, that's interesting that I'm having trouble with the two second delay. But it works for the 1 second. What I would recommend is that you try this on your computer, and with a 1 second delay and a 2 second delay, see if you encounter any problems. But a way to improve this would be to create a combo button or some sort of text box, or probably a drop down box that will allow the user to enter in a number for this waiting time. So instead of hard coding it as a number, you can actually pull it from a user drop down box or whatever. So that's what I wanted to show you in this video. I'll try to figure out what's going on with the sleep. Maybe I'll have some revelation on that and put up another video. But this video does work, or this code does work. You can test it yourself and see if you encounter any problems with it. But you get the idea. It's a slideshow, and a couple of the main functions again. Remember that you have to declare some global variables here. And notice that I did it in a module, right? Because if I put any of these global variables in this slideshow Microsoft object area, which is what this is, where you initialize user forms, you'll get an error. So you need to declare your global variables in a module, not under a form, behind a form, or anything like that. Other thing to mention is the load picture function, and then just keeping track of the picture number. So that's a global variable right here and right here. So use that within your arrays and things like that. Other than that, that's all I wanted to show you in this video. Once again, I'm going to post all of this code on excelvbasql.com. There's a ton of material here. So go there, put in your email, and you'll get an email when new videos go up. Contact me here, send me your questions, let me know if I can help, and I'll I'll try to answer your questions. Until next video, thanks, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.